Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 185 of the Nigeria Football Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Olu Oke. And today, on this episode, I'll be going through the Super Eagles preliminary list that's been released today on December 2nd for the AFCON. Remember, I mentioned that there's a preliminary list that was submitted on the 21st of November. So the Super Eagles are finally giving us the Super Eagles handle has finally given us the list of the 54 players that were submitted to CAF as part of this preliminary list. Also, as part of this video, remember, I'll be predicting the final 26 or 27-man AFCON squad, which will be selected from this preliminary list. So also look out for that video. Just an FYI on that video on the final 27 that made AFCON, or my predictions for the final 27 that made AFCON. I shot most of that video yesterday. So that was prior to the 55-man list being released today. But a lot of my predictions still stand, so the content still makes sense. But let me know what you think in the comments, and if you agree with me on my final selections. So just to recap on the preliminary list that's been released, Nigeria have announced 54 players on this list. We have 6 goalkeepers on this list. Maduka Okoye, Ebenezer Harcourt, Stanley Nwabali of Chippa United, Adeboye Adeleye of Volos MPS, Amaso Bazogi of Singida SC in Tanzania, and Francis Zoho has also been called up in the preliminary list, while he's at Omonia Nicosia. In terms of defenders, we see left backs, Felix Agu of Werder Bremen has been called up, Zedu Sanusi of FC Porto has been called up, Bruno Yemachi of Olympiacos has been called up. We've also seen a call up for Emmanuel Uche, who's a left back playing for LASK in Austria. In terms of right backs, we've seen call-ups for a lot of the usual suspects. Ola Aina is also in the squad, which is very good to see because we're still not sure about his fitness, but at least him being in the preliminary squad means the chances of him playing are much more likely. We've also seen Bright Osai Samuel put in the preliminary list, and we've seen a maiden preliminary call-up for Ryan Alebiosu, the right back playing for Blackburn Rovers, who we've touched on in the previous episodes as well. So good to see. And in terms of centre backs, we've seen William Troost-Ekong, Shemi Ajayi, Chidozie Awaziem, Calvin Bassi, Igor Ugbo, which made me very happy to see, and also Adeleke Adekunle, who plays for Abia Warriors in Nigeria, have all been selected in the defenders preliminary list. In terms of midfielders, a lot of the usual suspects as we've come to expect. Wilfred Ndidi is in the squad, who plays for Besiktas, Frank Onyeka of Brentford, Alassane Yusuf is in the list, Alex Wobi is in the list, Fisayo Delibashu is in the list, Rafael Yedika and Christian Uche are all in the list. We've also seen maiden preliminary call-ups for 5 midfielders. Ebenezer Akisomiro is included in the list as we predicted, so really good to see. Chochukwu Nandi, who plays for Zulte Waregem in Belgium, is also in the list. Usman Mohammed, who plays for Irony Tiberias in Israel, is on the list. Peter Agba of Maccabi Haifa is on the list. And Tom Delebashiru, who's Fisayo's elder brother, playing for Gen Klebrigli in Turkey, is also in the list. It was preliminary list. So interesting one. Obviously, no need to dissect too much with 55 players, but you must say that some of these inclusions are interesting, especially the ones playing in Israel. You know, how can Anthony Dennis not make preliminary list and some of these people are here? You know, or David Moses, you know, if I was one of them, I'll be feeling a bit slighted, to be honest. And in terms of forwards, this is where, of course, the majority of players have been called up in this 54-man list. Ademola Lookman is in there, of course. Victor Osimhen, our superstar and star player. Tola Kodari is in the list as well. Samuel Chukwueze has also been called up. Moses Simon is on the list. Ako Adams, as expected, and Chido Ejuke, both from Sevilla. Olakule Olusegun is in the preliminary list as probably expected, playing for Nizhny Novgorod. Sadiq Omar of Real Sociedad, Kelechi Iheanacho of Celtic, Taiwo Awoniyi of Nottingham Forest, Victor Boniface of Werder Bremen, Paul Onuachu of Trabzonspor, Terry Murphy of Nice, Nathan Teller of Bayer Leverkusen, Cyril Dessers of Panathinaikos, and we've also seen 7 players called up to the preliminary list for the first time, including Abdul Rashid Shehu of Niger Tornadoes in Nigeria. Rafiu Durosimi gets a preliminary maiden call-up after his exploits for Victoria Pilsen. Ekesun Okori of Nasarawa United is also called up. Chisom Oji of Aqua United. Philip Otele is also called up for the first time for FC Basel in Switzerland. Chibuke Ukwemesi of OH Leuven and Salim Fago of NK Istra, who I know is also a youth international. So no real surprise omissions, you know, you can say Gift Urban will probably count himself unlucky not to at least make the preliminary list over some of these names here. But everyone I anticipated to be in the final AFCON squad video, which you're going to watch very soon, has been called up. So enjoy the rest of the video with my predictions for the Super Eagles final AFCON squad. And of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments. A few things to just note in terms of the new maiden call-ups. I've already spoken about them. But please note that recording the video yesterday, I was not yet sure if Ranale Biosu would be officially confirmed as a Super Eagles player. So take that into account. And I also was not sure of Ala Ainal's inclusion. But safe to say that after seeing both of their names on the list, I'm feeling a lot better about our chances at AFCON. And now it's just the Frederick injury that is really, really upsetting, rather than centre back and right back Wahala. So enjoy the rest of the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So anyway, I'm doing this list based on the full 27-man allocation. We know most of these players will get in there with 23 players anyway. So I'll be providing a list with one extra defender, one extra central midfielder, and 2 strikers as the additional players to be involved in this squad. I predict a 3 goalkeepers will be called up. That one is standard. I'm expecting a situation where we'll get 9 defenders called up rather than 8 defenders, because we have to deal with the workload of a tournament and obviously with the injury issues we're having, particularly with Ola Aina and Benjamin Frederick. It's very important that we get our defensive selections correct. Midfield wise, I can see a world where we take 7 midfielders rather than 6. Normally, Nigeria will take 4 central midfielders and then 2 cams. Iwobi and Uche, or Iwobi and Pisa Delibashu, sometimes here or there. So I think we'll get 1 more. And then typical Nigeria, I still think we'll take 2 wingers each, but because we know we have a oversaturation of strikers, I expect the Super Eagles to have about 4 strikers called up to the Super Eagles squad for AFCON, leading to a total of 27. So without any further ado, let's get cracking. Who do we expect to be in the goalkeepers? Out of the 3 goalkeepers, I think 2 of them already picked themselves. The current Super Eagles number 1 is Stanley Nwabali. No doubt about it. We needed him before the last AFCON. He came in to prosecute the games under Pesero and was fantastic for us in all 7 AFCON games. He has also been pretty good since then, but we know that there have been a few hiccup moments here or there. But make no mistake about it, Nwabali has delivered for the Super Eagles. Now, the good news is the second goalkeeper that will be called up will be Maduka Okoye, no doubt about it. He's Nigeria's best goalkeeper based on form and the level of competition he's playing at. When you play in Syria, I don't care what kind of mental gymnastics people try to do. You are facing better opposition than someone that is playing for Chippa United, who are bottom of the South African League. Do not be deceived by how much South Africans love their league and they love to praise it. Good. It's still not better. It's nowhere near Syria. That's just the truth of the matter. So good, and let's see how. So I expect Maduka Okoye to be there. Now, the 3rd goalkeeper spot, there's no point overly debating this. It will either be Amaso Basogi or it will be Adebayo Adeleye, one of those 2. Left to me, they shouldn't put on MPFL player from maybe Kayode Bankole. I don't even know if he has moved. But the point is, Okoye and Nwabali are the ones that will play minutes throughout AFCON, in my humble opinion. And there's no point overly debating too much about the 3rd goalkeeper because he's not going to play. Now, when it comes to our defenders, I can see a world where we'll have 2 left backs called up, 2 right backs called up, and 5 centre backs called up. Now, the left backs kind of pick themselves. Zedu Sanusi will be called up for sure. He's our starting left back. He's playing games for Porto, and he's the only left back right now that Super Eagles have that is playing minutes for his club side. Onyemachi is playing minutes too, but we know that at the moment he's not the first choice left back for Olympiacos. So he plays some games here, he plays some games there. In all honesty, you could say the same for Sanusi, but Porto are a better club than Olympiacos. That's the honest truth. I do think Onyemachi will get the second left back spot, and that's also because Felix Agu is injured. If Felix Agu had something to say and was playing minutes for Werder Bremen, maybe we would have said he can potentially have fought for that other spot to Onyemachi. But I think with the squad to be released in 10 days, this one picks itself. Zedu Sanusi and Bruno Onyemachi will be the left backs for Nigeria for AFCON, and I expect Zedu Sanusi to start. Me personally also, I didn't say about goalkeeper, but I love to see Okoye given a chance to redeem himself and start at AFCON personally. Now, right back is where it gets tricky. All I know has been injured since the South Africa game where he injured himself in October. That one we've known. Or was it even September? In September, safe. He's been out for almost 3 months. Now, he's not even yet back training with the Nottingham Forest group as a whole. He's doing individual training. All I know, make no mistake about this, is our best right back. I'm not sure right now if he will make the squad because it's not necessarily looking good or bad. We know that there's still 3 weeks until the tournament starts, so that's enough time. But you have to say right now, it looks unlikely that Olajuwon will make the AFCON squad. If Olajuwon is fit, he will make the squad. That one goes without saying. Olajuwon will go in as first choice. Osai Samuel will be called up as his backup. I believe that's the norm. But let's assume Olajuwon is not going to be there. I think Brighton Samuel will be called up for sure. Simply because of our lack of options. Yes, he's a player that is not necessarily playing the most right now for his club side, in Birmingham City, who just got promoted to the championship, and for him to be benching in a championship squad that is mid-table, it does not leave a good taste in the mouth, considering you were starting against for Fenerbahce and playing the Europa League last year. But our choices are right back are a bit precious right now. So let's just say that Osai Samuel will be called up. Now, I've heard a few rumors about the British Nigeria right back called Ryan Alebiosu. He used to be a former Arsenal under-20 player, and he moved from KB Kotricic in Belgium to sign for Blackburn Rovers in the championship this season. And he's been one of the standout right backs in the league so far. Blackburn Rovers fans love him, and he's eligible to play for Nigeria. I've heard that the NFF are looking to get him into the squad ahead of AFCON. But of course, because we do not have our own ESPNs or Sky Sports, we cannot verify this news. So there's a world where it could potentially be Osai Samuel and Ryan Alebiosu called up for the squad. But until we have confirmation about a player like Alebiosu being able to play for the Nigeria squad, we have to go with who's available. So for AFCON, I think Osai Samuel will be called up as one of the right backs, and Chidozie Awaziem will be called up as a right back, even though we know he plays as a centre back, but he can play as a right back. So at the moment, I can see a world where Osai Samuel and Chidozie Awaziem are the right backs for AFCON. Does that leave me with confidence? Not too much, compared to if Olajuwon and Benjamin Frederick was there. But we have to lick our wounds and see what happens. Maybe Alebiosu may come in and just completely transform our right back and play, because I know he's fantastic going forward. But for now, we have to go with what we have and what we know will be the way. Now, in terms of centre-backs, now Frederick is injured, which is so sad. We know that from our five centre-back allocation, one of them will be Calvin Bassey, that's for sure. Calvin Bassey is head and shoulders Nigeria's most important centre-back. Now that Frederick is not there, we know that Ekong and Semi Ajayi will be called up. The manager likes them. They've been called up for almost all of his international camps. Ekong is still the captain of the national team, even though he does not play and clearly has completely lost the trust of the manager. But he will still be called up because he didn't play any minutes in the last international window. Semi Ajayi started against for the Super Eagles. Yes, he missed his penalty, but he should not have been playing penalty against Congo in the first place. So he will be called up for sure. So this is where it gets interesting. Look, if Alebiosu, for example, comes in, then Awaziem will be taken as one of the centre-backs. All I know is Awaziem is going to AFCON. But let's just imagine Awaziem and Alebiosu is not in, and Awaziem is a right-back. We already have Bassey, Chustekong and Semi Ajayi as 3 centre-backs. Who do I think will be the final 2 centre-backs? Left to me, I think Ugbo has to come back in. Prior to him getting injured, this is a player that Eric Chelle liked, called him up for the Unity Cup and for the games against Russia, and he played decently well. This is potentially a Champions League caliber player. So in my opinion, Ugbo, now that he's working his way back to fitness, should be the 4th centre-back called up for the national team. Now, the 5th choice centre-back that should be called up is where it gets interesting. We know that there's players like Chibike Nwaiwu at Wolfsberger in the Austrian League and Emmanuel Uchena at Sparta Prague. I think this window is a bit too close for either of them to be called up, but I will personally call up Jordan Torunariga. He's playing in the Bundesliga, he's starting games for Hamburg, and Hamburg are playing well right now. This is a player that has 1 cap for Nigeria, but we know that he's been schooled in the German school of football. Very good defender, very aggressive, and he's also a better ball player than Semi Ajayi, and I know he can deputize in other positions if needed. But you have to admit that apart from Calvin Bassey, when you look at the club sides and the leagues that our players are currently playing at, nobody is more qualified to partner Bassey than John Torunariga right now playing games in the Bundesliga for Hamburg. So that's who I will select as my final centre-back pairing for the AFCON. But as I've clarified and caveated, let us see. This right-back issue is causing us a lot of problems in seeing what the squad will look like. But that's what I would love to see, with Torunariga being the final player selected. Now, DMs and central mids, I think these ones pick themselves. We'll have a total of 5. 4 of these players automatically pick themselves, in my opinion. Wilfred Ndidi will always be called up. He's the vice captain of national team. Frank Onyeka, despite his lack of club minutes, is an important player for the Super Eagles. And we know that he scored the goal that even took us to the playoffs. And he also scored the goal against Congo that put us 1-0 up. So Frank Onyeka is an important player for the Super Eagles. Now, Rafael Yedika will also be called up. That one is for sure. Even though Eric Chelle did not show him any kind of confidence or give him any minutes. But Rafael Yedika is too good to be ignored. So those 3 would definitely be called up no matter what. I also think Ebenezer Akinsomeru will finally get his first call-up and maiden call-up to the Super Eagles squad based on his performances for Pizza so far this season. So that's 4 of those spots now. Now, the final DM spot, I think it will be one of Alassane Yusuf because he's been called up for the previous camps even though he has not played. Or I think Eric Chelle will finally give an opportunity to either a David Moses or an Anthony Dennis. One of those 3 players I expect to be called up for the Super Eagles. My gut tells me it'll be Alassane Yusuf because of familiarity, but I would love if it was an Anthony Dennis, for example, in all honesty. So that's who I think will be the 5. Now, the camp positions for Nigeria, we already know who's our starting camp. I will be called up regardless, no matter what, after getting over 90 caps. Alex Iwobi is going to AFCON. Look at his performance for Fulham over the weekend again. This is a superior talent. I just love him so much. And I love that he's going to get close to 100 caps after this AFCON. So long may it continue. I also think the second camp spot will be taken by Santos Uche. Despite the lack of playing time for Crystal Palace, we do not have a player with the same kind of profile that Santos Uche has. You know, when you think about the physicality, the ability to hold up play. Remember how much Arako Dari struggled to hold up play against Congo? Santos Uche would have had none of those problems. This is a player that can play as a striker, play as a number 10, play as a second striker, play as a central midfielder, play as a DM self. But his physical gifts are stuff we've not seen before. And he also has a very good touch, a very good eye for goal. And he can take shots. He can improve his passing, but that profile is very rare. So for that reason, I think Santos Uche will be caught up for sure for the Super Eagles. Despite, I think he's one of those players that will benefit from the additional slots for sure in the national team. So what does that now mean for our wing selection? I think as a result of Uche being caught up as a central attacking midfielder, Fisayodele Bashiru will be caught up as a right winger, and that's very important. I think he's one of the biggest misses in our squad from the game against Congo. So I expect Fisayodele Bashiru and Samuel Chukwueze to be caught up as right wingers. Chukwueze will always be caught up for the national team, and based on his performances over the past few weeks since the disappointment, you have to say there's no world where he will not be called up. Chukwueze has been fantastic for Fulham, even though he's been as a left winger. But this is me just predicting the squad. Chukwueze plays right winger for Nigeria, he'll be called up. If Chukwueze and Fisayodele Bashiru are a right wing options, you'll be feeling pretty good compared to a lot of teams, especially on the African continent, And left winger, we already know that our left wingers pick themselves. Ademola Lookman and Moses Simon. Moses Simon will come for his last tournament for Nigeria and then he can bow out. So I expect those 4 to be our wingers. I think Chidera Ejuke or Nathan Tella could be called up. One of them may be called up and then maybe Ekrisantuche will be dropped and Dele Bashiru will still be in the squad. So Tella or Ejuke may still be called up, one to monitor. I saw another rumor on social media about Moses Uzo, but I don't know where they manufacture these rumors. The guy is not playing that well in the Austrian league for LASK. His goal returns is nothing to write home about. He's definitely not playing as well as a Philippe Otele, for example, to be called up. So I cannot see a world where Moses Uzo will be called up, but this may be NFF, Mago, Jerry as usual. But I think our wingers pick themselves. Now, striker is where it gets interesting just to round up these predictions. Out of the 4 potential striker slots, 2 pick themselves. Victor Osimhen is Nigeria's most important player, most important striker, most important attacker, everything. Soon to be top goal scorer in our history, even though he has not gone to a World Cup and has only scored 1 in AFCON. So we need to put Osimhen in positions where he can be scoring meaningful goals. They're all meaningful, but for him to have only scored 1 goal in AFCON or World Cup, I'm sure he's coming back for blood this AFCON. If I'm Osimhen, my target is simple. Be the top goal scorer of AFCON and make sure Nigeria win the AFCON. Simple. We'll meet them again in 2030 for the World Cup. No story, no shaking. Akko Adams will also be caught up as second striker for Nigeria. Based on his performances in October and November, he deserves it. He's also playing in La Liga, starting it for Sevilla, even though his goal record is not the best, but we've seen the kind of goals he scored for Nigeria. So Akko Adams picks himself. Now, the third striker is where it gets interesting because Arako Dari has been holding on to that shirt over the past few months. But I think Onuachu has to come in ahead of him. Arako Dari has had a terrible transfer so far, while Onuachu is the top goal scorer in the same league that Victor Victor Osimhen is playing in. So I expect Onuachu to finally be called up for AFCON. And Aroko Dare, go and face your club side and improve, and we'll see you again. Now, that fourth striker spot is one that is hard to predict. I think it could be one of 6 players, to be honest. More realistically, I think it will be one of 4 players. Because I'm going to remove Gift Urban and Kelechi Iheanacho from selection. Iheanacho is still injured from Celtic, even though he performed well. I think if Iheanacho did not get injured, he would have been called up for AFCON with how well he was playing, to be honest. Gift Urban's Verona are bottom of Serie A. They're not playing well enough, and he's not scoring enough goals to really force himself as a selection, even though I think Gift Urban's profile is one of the more interesting ones we have in the squad. So that leaves 4 more players to fight for these final shirts. Tolu Akodare, Terry Murphy at Nice, who's been called up recently as well. Cyril Desas, who's been called up recently as well. And Eric Chelle really likes. And I think Victor Boniface. Now, Victor Boniface is an interesting one. He needs to find form and needs to score his first Bundesliga goal. The reason why I still put Boniface as an opportunity is we know that talent-wise he's better than all these other players. Boniface's talent is undeniable. He's very rare, one of one, special talent. But we have not seen him put it together for Werder Bremen yet. Now, that means you have an Aroko Dare, a Terry Murphy, and a Cyril Desas to fight for this shirt. Now, none of them right now are playing that well that he must be called up. Nice have just lost 6 straight games in a row. And Murphy has not scored in the last few games. Desas just coming back from fitness, so we don't know what's going on. So if I was to predict, I can see a world where Eric Chelle will still call up Aroko Dare because he likes him. But I don't like a world where you call up Aroko Dare and Onuachu. They do the same thing. So for just differentiation, I remember his performances from the last AFCON. I will go with Terry Murphy as the final striker spot. Remember, Terry Murphy is the one that got the South African player sent off. When we played South Africa in semi-final, I remember Murphy had a very important moment, that he should have scored. I think South Africa guy injured him and he was sent off. So Murphy knows how to get himself into these right spaces. You do not score 15 goals in League One in a season if you're not a good player. Something is wrong with Nice and the way they set up as a club. Everything there is wrong. But Murphy is a player, so let's see what happens. So that's it in terms of my predictions for AFCON. Just to recap, goalkeepers, Maduka Okoye, Stein Nwabali, and I think Adebayo Adeleye will get the nod. Our left backs are expected to be Zedu Sanusi and Bruno Yemachi. Right backs, without all the speculation and assuming I know he's injured, I can see Brightisai Samuel and Chidozie Awaziem being called up as right backs. Centre backs, Calvin Bassey picks himself. Ekong and Shemi Ajayi will be called up, of course, and I would love a situation where we see Igor Ugbo called up and Jordan Torunariga called up as the final centre backs, making 5. In terms of our central midfield options / DM options, Wilfred Ndidi will go, Frank Onyeka will go, Rafael Yedika will go, and I'm hoping to see a maiden call-up for Ebenezer Kinsomiro, and then we would see one of Alassane Yusuf or Anthony Dennis or David Moses called up as the 5th central midfielder. In terms of our central attacking midfielder options, Alex Iwobi will definitely go. I'm predicting Christian Uche to make the squad based on his profile, but there's a world where Uche may not go and we may get an Ejuke or a Teller called up instead. Now, assuming Uche goes, we'll see our 4-wing options be Ademola Lookman and Moses Simon on the left, and Fisayo Dilibashu and Samuel Chukwueze on the right. And then striker, Ako Adams, Paul Onuachu, Terry Murphy, and most importantly, Victor James Osimhen coming to play his second ever AFCON after missing the 2022 edition due to an injury. So, how do I feel about the squad? Look, compared to any squad on Africa, on paper, this squad is still one of the best squads on the continent. Yes, we have to humble ourselves based on the disgrace and embarrassment we've seen since our AFCON final. We are one of the only teams that can win AFCON that is not going to be at the World Cup alongside Cameroon, But when you look at this squad on paper, especially Victor Osimhen is playing, we should have every chance to get to the AFCON final. Looking at even the way our group is set, we have to top our group and then we'll play one of the third best teams, I think from group, one of the third place teams, If we win, we will likely play an Algeria in the quarterfinals, so we should still be feeling confident and we love the opportunity to avenge our 2019 semi-final loss. If we then beat Algeria, there's a world where we'll probably meet Morocco in the semi-finals. So looking forward to it all, and hopefully Super Eagles will not disgrace us and go out embarrassingly or prematurely. But really looking forward to AFCON. As I said, the squad will be finalized on December 11th. Let me know your thoughts on my predicted squad list. Who do you think is unlucky to miss out? Who do you think must be in the squad that I even totally blanked? Who do you think I put in the squad that in your mind you're like, what the hell? How can this person make the squad? Let me know your thoughts. Really looking forward to Nigeria playing AFCON. Look, no matter what the sadness, go and continue to enjoy your club sides, and I promise you once AFCON comes, the joy will come back, because at the end of the day, it's our national team and we love them regardless. Look at the Congo that are celebrating. Imagine if the Congolese said that they will not support their national team since 1974. That means in the past 50 years, Congo would have gone nowhere. So we must be there for our national team, both in the good and in the bad. So really looking forward to the finalized list, and of course we'll be bringing you that for your listening pleasure once that's confirmed. Remember, AFCON starts on December the 21st. Morocco hosts Comoros in the opening game. It will be an 8 p.m. kickoff in Nigeria on that Sunday. As for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, our first game of AFCON will be on the 23rd of December, 2 days before Christmas Day. We will be playing at 6:30 p.m. against Tanzania. So looking forward to how we get on in that game. Our second match will then be against Tunisia, which will be played on the 27th of December, 9 p.m. kickoff in Nigeria. And then finally, we'll round up the group stage by playing Uganda on the 30th of December in a 5 p.m. kickoff on that day. Good luck to the Super Eagles. We realistically should be winning all 3 games, if I'm being honest. Tunisia will be tricky, but we look forward to that, and see you on the next episode. Remember, look out for the review of the weekend's games, and of course we'll be bringing you the midweek report and the weekend preview on November 5th, which is this Friday. Until next time, I'll be also okay. I want to say a big thank you again to all our listeners. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on this content, and I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast. Ciao.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop the video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles, and Nigeria know they ever carry last.